Right now, Jason Dominguez, if he comes back in the 6 months that they keep saying, because that's what I just got a report saying, he could be back playing by mid spring training. He's our starting left fielder next year, 100%, or center fielder, whatever.
Or center, one of the two. Yeah, one of the two.
And if he's not and he's healthy, I'm going on a tyrant, like an absolute tyrant. Things are getting thrown. I'm flipping cars. TVs are thrown out 2-story balconies. I don't even live in on second. I don't even have a 2-story.
Go find a 2-story balcony.
I'm gonna go find a 2-story house. I'm gonna throw the damn TV off of it. Welcome back to another week of The Rotation with Mike and John. I'm John. That's Mike. We're back here again for another week. Sorry about missing last week. Just had some unexpected things pop up, but we're back here again. We got one more week of the regular season, and then we're in the playoff time. So, Mike, how's the last 2 weeks been for baseball for you?
You know, it's been kind of crazy, and we'll get into it in a minute. A little disappointing, but it's been wild to see kind of how playoff teams are making pushes, trying to win divisions, trying to get wild card races. Some great ball being played, and some impressive records too. So, what have you thought?
Yeah, it's been the same way, and it's been interesting to see the playoff format kind of fill out. But let's just hop right into it. It's the elephant in the room of our New York Yankees. All right, let's talk some Yankees baseball. Even though they were eliminated from playoff contention here yesterday, Sunday, September 24th. Look back on the season. Wasn't the greatest. It, in my opinion, was a failure of a season. You bring in all these top guys. You have a slew of talent, and unfortunately, they caught the injury bug all year. Started off with Rizzo, ended with all these other guys. Canely now has got a shoulder rotator cuff injury right now. They're gonna be sitting down a lot of the guys over the next week. Personally, I think this is a big eye opener to a lot of Yankees fans around the world. Brian Cashman needs to go. Aaron Boone, I don't know. I would say yes, he needs to go, but they need a new voice, and I've been saying this for a long time. They need a new voice in that locker room. Aaron Judge alluded to it in his post-game press conference yesterday, saying that there's a lot of changes, and we're going to keep that in-house. And I love that about that, because I don't need to know what you're going to make those changes as long as you do. So, in my opinion, I think this season was a failure. They've missed out on a lot of great opportunities. And I've said it year in and year out. We don't have a bullpen, and we don't have a good starting rotation. The more you continue to rely on Cole every freaking start, it's going to hurt them. And it played that factor. Now, looking back at it, I'm looking at it as a logistical standpoint. What if Dominguez starts the year? What if Austin Wells starts the year with Volpe?
Right.
What does it hurt, right? If they suck, you send them down, and then you pull up some guys that you can. My thought behind that is the fact is that I'm tired of hearing about this MLB clock and this MLB bullshit clock.
Yeah. Yep.
You say it to me all the time, and I want to rip my freaking hair out anytime you say it, because I'm so sick and tired of hearing it from franchises. If the kid can prove he can play, then put him in the game, because you're not doing anything right now with anybody else. So, what are your thoughts as we close out this season this week and on 2023?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's disappointing, it's frustrating, it's maddening, all that. And believe me, when I talk about the MLB clock, I'm with you. My personal opinion is play them if they can play.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, these teams, including the Yankees, are leaning so heavily towards the business side of things and not to the baseball side of things. And that's why I think Cashman needs to go. And that's why I think if it's not him specifically, although we'd love for it to be him specifically, someone like Derek Jeter, someone that has a winning mentality and will think about the baseball side and will look at Hal and go, Hal, we're the goddamn New York Yankees. The business side's going to be there whether, we pay attention to it or not. The finances are going to be there whether you do these shrewd business moves or not. We're going to have the money. Let's go win. Because if we win, we'll make more money.
Right.
And if we make more money, we don't have to worry about the business. So let's go win.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
like
they did it back in 95
right,
or 92 it should have been, but 95 was when
right,
it shined bright. But
right.
sorry, go ahead, what you're saying.
Oh no, I totally agree with you. I love that Aaron Judge is stepping up and saying this season is a failure. Things need to change. And I loved hearing I have some ideas. Listen to him. This is your captain. This is your leader on the, again, baseball side of things. When it
Yeah.
comes to being the players, this is the guy. Please listen to him like you listened to Jeter and valued Jeter's opinion on things.
One thing
I,
I gotta admit though is what they can't do moving forward, they can't rely solely on him.
correct.
They can't have him, and even if they go in the playoffs, the last couple of years going in the playoffs, it's been Judge, LeMahieu, Torres, or Judge, LeMahieu, and the leadoff guy, whether it was IKF or whatnot.
Right.
They can't rely on him only. He's going to get his hits, he's going to get his home runs,
Yeah.
but you got to help him out. You got to get some
Right.
at bats from these 5 through 9 guys. And if they're not going to get them to you, then see ya. Best move
Right.
they did all year was release Josh Donaldson. Eat the rest of the contract. See ya. See ya. Gone.
Bye.
Aaron Hicks. Fortunately, gotta go. See ya. Have a good one. That's what those guys that were weighing the team down. And like I keep saying, week after week, year after year, until they start having that, I'm gonna take the league by storm. I'm gonna beat every single team by 20 runs. Mentality. They're never gonna win. And that's just the sad part. The Dodgers and Braves are set up for success over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
The Houston Astros are set up for success over the next 10 years. The Yankees should be. Let's see
100%.
if they do it in 2024. I don't know, but let's get into our takes of the week because we got teams that are still contending for the playoff right now. So, Mike, take it away with your first take of the week.
My first take of the week, I've been saying it for a long time, and I think now that he's been shut down for the season, I think it's the truth, in my opinion. We have seen the last of Shohei Ohtani in an Angels uniform. I don't think he will ever play for the Angels again. There's just with how that organization is running itself, how Art Moreno, the owner, is handling this team, and the options that hurt or not pitching next year or not, the options that this guy's going to have, there are so many better organizations for him to join to try to win and further his career. So I think he's done with the Angels.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see it. I can't. I said it back before that I think he's going to resign, but now that they're talking about getting rid of Trout, sending him somewhere, the Angels are just in a really bad place, and they had the opportunity of a lifetime when they got this guy, and they did nothing but squander it. Nothing, and that's a shame on that organization to let that type of talent, and Mike Trout, not make a playoff. Because how exciting would it have been Aaron Judge versus Shohei Ohtani to go to the World Series?
Right.
Aaron Judge versus Giancarlo Stanton versus Mike Trout. Aaron Judge versus Mike Trout. The storylines write themselves. It is terrible for baseball. And this is what I say. It's marketing for baseball is terrible. Because how can you have that much of talent on the team in those two players and not say, let's surround them. Let's make a push. You wasted 7 years of that guy's talent. 7 years.
Yeah.
And you wasted almost 10 years of Mike Trout's talent to go to one playoff game and lose.
Right.
So shame on the Angels organization because at this point, you lose those two guys, move the freaking team to Nashville or something.
Somewhere,
I don't care. Yeah, somewhere else because at that point, you ain't competing for a while. So I agree.
Yeah, for sure. What is your first take of the week?
My first take is kind of similar to yours. Is sitting players, once you're eliminated, sitting players is smart. Reason being, right? Because you're going to be playing teams. So teams have been eliminated the past week or so.
Right.
Yes, you go and bring up the young guys. You bring up the young guys that were playing in spring training that you were like, okay, it's just spring training. You're not really getting the looks. Now you're going to give them the actual looks in the 2 weeks because they're going to face real pitchers, especially if you're playing playoff contending teams right now.
Right.
Must-win game type teams. right? So you pull these guys up and you see what they got, because this is going to show you more than what 4 weeks in Arizona or Tampa is going to do for you.
Right.
So, in my opinion, I just think this is smart for the teams to bring up their young guys. It's smart to sit the vets, because I don't know about you, but I've never seen this many injuries come across my report when it comes to the Yankees. It's one after the other after the other. It's every single day. Tommy Kahnle was today. It
Yeah.
was someone else the other day. It's just every single day. So stop throwing them, stop pitching them, stop playing them. Play the young guys, see what they got against these teams that are trying to contend.
Yeah, especially the guys that you're paying a ton of money and have invested a good chunk of your franchise in. Your Judges, your Trouts, your Ohtanis, your Alonsos, things like that. If you're already not going to the playoffs this year, so you have at this point, because there's always that debate of what do you do? Do you play for the season or play for the future when you're in certain situations, right? You have nothing but the future, because this season's done. Like, you're not going to the playoffs, whatever. So yeah, sit your guys and see what you've got. You talk about it all the time. We talk about these MLB pipeline, like top 10, top 25, top 20, like minor league systems, right? We don't know what they are until we see them play. So let's see them play.
Mm-hmm.
That way,
and
you know.
you know what you have going into camp, and
Right.
you know who's going to be a top guy. Right.
Right.
Right now, Jason Dominguez, if he comes back in the 6 months that they keep saying, because that's what I just got a report saying, he could be back playing by mid spring training. He's our starting left fielder next year, 100%, or center fielder, whatever.
Or center, one of the two. Yeah, one of the two.
And if he's not and he's healthy, I'm going on a tyrant, like an absolute tyrant. Things are getting thrown. I'm flipping cars. TVs are thrown out 2-story balconies. I don't even live in a second. I don't even have a 2-story.
Go find a 2-story balcony.
I'm gonna go find a 2-story house. I'm gonna throw the damn TV off of it.
By the way, for those that think he's exaggerating when he says he's gonna flip cars, no, he probably could.
So watch out for your little cars.
Yeah. Don't park on the street.
All right, let me calm down a little bit. Let me take us into our second take of the week.
Yeah, so my second take of the week actually goes along kind of with my first, and goes with what you said. Shame on the Angels, right? So we've been very critical, both on and off this show, of one Anthony Rendon, the third baseman for the LA Angels, formerly of the Washington Nationals. The big contract he got, now he hasn't been able to stay healthy, right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of a two-parter. Anthony Rendon is a snake bit. The dude has no luck when it comes to injuries. Like, he just got hurt again. And he's about done with the Angels. Speaking of people that are going to leave the Angels organization.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you read what happened? What has happened with that situation?
I read the headlines, but I don't really know what transpired.
So, back in July, right before the All-Star break, it was actually on the 4th of July, he fouled the ball off his leg.
Mm-hmm.
And was taken out of the game and hasn't played since. This whole time, so now 2.5 months, right, into the injury. The whole time the Angels have been saying, it's a bone bruise, it's a bad bone bruise, it's a bad bone bruise. He revealed to reporters this past week, he broke his leg. It's a broken tibia or fibula, one of the two. And when asked by reporters why the Angels wouldn't just never, admitted or said what the actual injury was and just glossed over it with bone bruise, all Rendon had to say to them was, you got to ask them.
So he basically threw him under the bus.
Pretty much, like,
what they're saying, why he's saying that is because when you hear about a bone bruise, you think that's probably like a 2 to 3 week injury. He should be back, and he's lazy. He doesn't want to work to get back, and that's what the headlines probably read about Rendon. When realistically, he literally can't put weight on that leg because it's broken.
Right.
So,
but nobody knows that because the team won't admit it.
It's not the first time we've heard this. It's just more fire. You're throwing more gasoline on the fire, and why the Angels are such a garbage organization right now.
Right.
And it's terrible because ultimately they're doing it to themselves. I'm sorry, but you're doing it to yourselves. Anthony Rendon, did he deserve that contract? No. I mean, but who am I to say that after he just wins a World Series? He bats the best he's ever bat in his life in that postseason. Probably could have won the MVP in that postseason if it wasn't Juan Soto. But yeah, I mean that's not surprising.
No, not at all. What's your second take of the week?
Them boys down in Texas are back in position. They are on a 5-game heater. They're 6-4 in the last 10, and they have taken control of the AL West, where they are 2.5 up on Houston, where
Mhm.
Houston's kind of gone the other direction now. So it seems like the Rangers are starting to put it together at the right time and
Mhm.
starting to feel things out. They took a step back end of August into September. Now they're starting to come back and actually play some good baseball. They're pitching well. They're hitting
Mhm.
the ball well. They're doing the stuff that you need to do to win games, and they're doing it at the right time. We always talk about timing is everything, right? Timing is all about taking advantage of the moment, and this is the moment right now because you do not want to. We've seen it out of the Yankees teams. You do not want to have a team going into a playoff on a slump. You
Right.
don't.
You don't.
If they're slumping, they're going to lose in the wild card and or in the divisional round until they get there. So the Rangers are back in position right now.
Yeah, they're like you said, they're playing their best ball at the exact time you want to start playing your best ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought because just from talent level and what they were looking like by the All-Star break, that they were going to be a tough out in the playoffs anyway.
Yeah.
But if they're going to play like this in the playoffs, they are going to be a tough out. They got, I mean, we talk about it like they have the good pitchers. Their lineup is good. Like Semien and Seager were the perfect combo to put together for that team. The way they like to they like to balance their lineup and their offense, and for that ballpark, that new ballpark at Globe Life, the two of them hit phenomenally. One from the right, one from the left. It was perfect. So yeah, I think they're gonna be a very dangerous team at this point.
All right. What's your third take of the week?
Well, it just so happens, let's stick a little bit with the Texas Rangers and the fact that their upcoming end of the year 4-game series against Seattle in Seattle is going to be the biggest series any team has had this season because it
Wow.
could very well decide the AL West and the last wild card spot, especially if
Wow.
Toronto keeps playing the way they are.
Well, Toronto and Tampa, I think, locked in their wild card already.
Don't believe so. I believe Toronto's in the third spot right now.
No, there's 2 up on Houston.
Okay, so but we could, I mean, in that combo of Texas, Houston, and Seattle, that series could decide. Obviously, it depends a little bit on what Houston does, but that series could decide who wins the division and who does or does not make the playoffs.
Make the playoffs, right? Because Houston's sitting in the third wild card spot right now, and it really could. I mean, Toronto's 2 on both those teams, on the
Mhm.
Houston and on the Seattle Mariners. I mean, Tampa already locked in theirs. They're 9.5
Yeah.
up, so they're done. They're pretty much in. But yeah, I mean, that's a big series, especially because Seattle just got swept by Texas this past weekend. So this series coming up to end of the year is going to be very critical because we could see Julio Rodriguez and the Seattle Mariners in the playoffs, or we could see Corey Seager and Marcus Semien in the playoffs. I mean, we
Right.
don't know. I mean, which would be crazy because the Rangers did lead the year all year in the West. They led
Oh
most of
yeah.
the year. So it's gotta be strange if they get eliminated. It'd be like the biggest like reverse from the
Oh yeah.
beginning of the year to the end of the year. So interested to see how that series plays out.
Yeah, me too. What's your third take of the week?
Well, I'm going to go over to the NL and talk about the NL wild card. It's still up for grabs between, let's see, 5 teams. 5 teams are still in it between I think the Padres and Giants are pretty much a win out and see type of thing
Yeah.
because they're 5 out right now. But between the Reds, Marlins, Cubs, and Diamondbacks, it's really up in the air. The Diamondbacks ultimately need the game today against the Yankees. This recording will already be posted by the time we say this, but because they're a half game up on the Cubbies,
Mhm.
Marlins ended up. I don't know what the hell they went to go play with Milwaukee, lost 16-1 in their first game last weekend, and I'm like, holy shit, this doesn't look like a team that won 2 against the Mets.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting coming down the stretch with these four teams because they've been around. It seems like it just rotates every single day, like who's playing who's making it, who's not. It's like MLB can't keep up. Like, shit, Marlins in. Oh, shit. So I'm thinking, in my prediction, I think it's going to be the Phillies, the Cubs, and the Marlins that make the playoffs. I think the Diamondbacks drop off, and I hope that my hometown team over here, the Marlins, make it so I can see some playoff baseball down here if they ever get here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm trying to see real quick okay. So obviously, as we said, the Diamondbacks are currently playing the Yankees. After this, they're going to Chicago for their White Sox series.
White Sox, okay.
For the White Sox. But then they play Houston to end the year.
Ooh.
So I think you might be right. If the Diamondbacks
and Houston's going to keep, because they're on the third wild card spot, they can't give up any games either.
Oh, they're going right. It's not going to be. I mean, the White Sox, you may be able to take at least 2 of 3, if not the series from, because the White Sox have been done for like 2 months. But yeah, Houston might be fighting for their playoff lives at that point. While as we previously talked about, that Texas-Seattle series is going on.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I honestly could see the Diamondbacks falling out. I'll be a little different in the sense that my prediction is the Phillies. I think the Phillies have pretty much locked it up at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go. See, it's hard for me to say it's not the Cubs, but I'm gonna go the Phillies, the Diamondbacks, and the Marlins.
Okay, so the only difference in there is the Cubs. Cubs and Diamondbacks.
Yeah, Cubs instead of Diamondbacks, or Diamondbacks instead of Cubs for me. Yeah.
So what's your fourth take of the week?
Well, we'll stick to the NL, and we mentioned earlier how phenomenal the Atlanta Braves are and how well they're set up for the future. Well, there's a piece that I think is being overlooked a little bit with the obviously big success of Ronald Acuna, which is Matt Olson. And Matt Olson is the way I put it, a machine. Like, I knew he was a good baseball player in Oakland. Like, he was a highly touted first baseman, but to replace Freddie Freeman was a daunting task in and of itself, right? I'm not going to say, obviously, he's not the pure hitter that Freeman is. But God damn, if he's not close. And he mashes the ball.
Yeah.
The fact that he set the single season Braves home run record with about a month left in the year is insane. So, yeah, I know Acuna's, you and I have talked off the show before.
Mm-hmm.
Acuna's probably going to be NL MVP with what he's done this year, the records he's set and the history he's made and all that, and absolutely deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't want to give it to Acuna, maybe think about giving it to Matt Olson.
Yeah, I mean, with Matt Olson, he's been a very secret dominant player this year. He hits for average. He's hitting the long ball too. He can field real well for you. It's just been really nice to see a guy almost have a 5-tool player right there, and he's been a silent like assassin on the Braves right there, right? If Acuna is having a rough night, he's always the guy to step up and hit good home runs.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's batting over 300 at this point in the year too, so which is really impressive. You have 2 300 plus hitters on the team, plus a bunch of hitters that are hitting in 280, 290. The Braves are going to be a very dangerous team in October if they can keep this up.
Yeah, for sure. What is your fourth take of the week?
Kind of hit on that last point I just made is for teams not to be complacent. What I mean by that is when you're going into the last week of the regular season, you can kind of come off the gas a little bit and kind of be like, all right, I'm in the playoffs and stuff like that. I'm not opposed to sitting players, but I'm also opposed to it because of staying warm. In baseball, it's all about the consistency in hitting the ball. It's all about hitting the ball and seeing the ball hit the ball, seeing the ball hit the ball, playing the field, getting ready for a big playoff run. And especially if you're not in the wild card round and you're the number 1 seed like the Braves and probably be the Dodgers. And then on the AL side, it's probably going to be Baltimore and I would say the winner of the West would probably be the 1 or 2 seed at this point. So not to be complacent, like continue to have your guys hit, pull off some stops, pull off some things. Try some things in this last week. If you already have it clinched, you're already in the playoff at your seed, try some things. Don't be complacent. Maybe have a guy go 2 innings as a starter, then throw in a reliever, then throw in your closer, then throw in another reliever. Do some things that can help in the
Right.
playoffs that will match that. Because in my opinion, when teams get too complacent, like the Dodgers did last year, actually, when they went 116 games or something in that realm, they got their ass kicked. And it was like, holy shit, what happened to this Dodgers team? They got too complacent. So you need to kind of keep the foot on the gas a little bit, keep the bats going. I don't agree with sitting guys if you're in the playoffs, because that's when you need to be playing your best
Right.
baseball. And if you're playing your best baseball the last week of the regular season, that is a great opportunity for them to play their best baseball going into
Right.
the divisional, World Series, ALCS, NLCS, all those type of not leagues, all those type of rounds.
Yes.
So don't be complacent. Play your game and play it well.
Yeah, I think start putting together what you think your playoff lineups are going to look like. And then when you can, mix in some of your bench guys so that they're fresh. They get some reps, they get an at bat or two, they get some innings in the field so that they're ready, for any eventuality if they have to step in, injury, defensive, pinch hitting, all that kind of thing. Get your guys reps, but yeah, get a plan together. Start. I mean, we see in other sports, teams start, practicing and closer to the playoffs, practicing and throwing plays in and stuff like that that are designed for success in the playoffs. Start doing that. Be prepared because, yeah, that Dodgers team, they let the foot off and you saw what happened.
Very easy to get into a slump in baseball.
Yes.
When you're not hitting the ball, you're not seeing the ball, and you don't play
Yeah.
for a week. I never agree with that in the last for baseball because baseball's a little different.
Yeah.
Football is more injury based. You're getting more hits. Basketball, you're putting up the shots, and if your shot's not going, you can kind of figure it out during the game.
Right.
But baseball, if you're not hitting the well and you're not seeing the ball well,
Right.
and you're in the playoffs, that's not good. So, Mikey, Mike, take us home with your final take of the week.
So my final take of the week, I know it happened not this past week, but the week before when we weren't here. But I wanted to make sure that it got brought up because I thought it was really interesting. Wanted to give a special congrats to Matt Waldron, a starting pitcher for the San Diego Padres, who became the first knuckleballer to get a win since 2018. So
Wow.
there was a lot of talk about how nobody's throwing the knuckleball over the last couple of years. Nobody's throwing the knuckleball anymore. It's a dead art. Apparently not, because Matt Waldron got himself a win. And, especially what made me think of was if he's the only one that's throwing a knuckleball anymore, really, he might be very effective because hitters aren't going to be used to seeing it anytime else.
True.
So
True.
I'm interested in that.
And especially when they got speeds. The one thing I want to know is what's his fastball ringing at? Like, is it about 100? Is it like up there?
I don't think so. I think he's one of the soft tossers.
Or is it like Wakefield where he had like 85, 90? 90
Yeah, I think it's
92 probably.
Yeah, they say coming out of in 2019 he was coming out of college and his fastball sets 92 to 94.
Okay. It's a little off speed. I mean, the knuckleball's typically a slower pitch, probably 70 miles an hour,
Yeah.
probably lighter than that. It just depends on what type of movement it is. And it
Right.
can fool pitcher. It can fool hitters when you're not used to it. And so Wakefield was one of the best ones to do it. His didn't move as much. It just kind of just sat there and just kind of came across. I wonder if this kid has any movement on his, which is I would like to know.
Yeah, I think he's got a little shake to it.
Is he a starting pitcher or is he a relief?
I believe the Padres are currently using him as a starter.
Eventually, he's going to have to be put in the bullpen because eventually people are going to catch up to it and get rocks. So he's going to have to come out of the bullpen. And when you see that knuckleball out of the bullpen, you don't have time to get ready for it. At least when he's a starter, you have a couple at bats that you have, get yourself used to it.
Yeah, so I'm looking at his player profile right now. He's mostly been a starter, but he's been used in relief a couple times.
Okay.
7 games, 5 starts.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I agree. Eventually those knuckleballers become better relievers. Unless you're R.A. Dickey, which he mixed a lot of pitches in. He managed to make a career of that. But yeah, like even Wakefield eventually think he was a starter on the 04 World Series team for the Red Sox, but then
Right.
by 07 he was like one of their setup guys.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what is your fifth and final take of this week?
So my fifth and final take as we end this regular season of the 2023 MLB season. The teams who had not made the playoffs, be strategic about your offseason acquisitions.
Hmm.
Obviously, there's one guy out there that everyone wants, but there's only a couple teams that can afford and or have a chance at him.
Right.
So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Look at the season this year. The common theme with this season is young guys. The young guys stepped up in a lot of teams and were exciting. So with these teams that are in the offseason, go after guys that are going to help you longevity wise, not only 2024, but 25, 26, 27, 28, and beyond, because this is the future right now we're playing into. And you need to do something different, because if you're the Royals, if you're the Athletics, if you're the Angels, do you like being at the bottom of the league every single year? Because it's almost clockwork. You guys just sit there at the bottom of the league, and it's kind of embarrassing. And especially with the Royals winning the World Series not too long ago, and the A's being competitive not too long ago,
Mhm.
along with the Angels. So I would say is let's see these teams make some moves next year. Let's see some of these teams do something next year that's going to help them improve. So some offseason, predictions, in my opinion, Shohei Ohtani is going to go to the New York Mets, and then Mike Trout will be traded to the Philadelphia Phillies. I see that Anthony Rizzo getting traded back to Chicago for Corey Seager, and there's also a couple other acquisitions that I see the Yankees making in the offseason. I see them going after a starting pitcher and getting, in my opinion, one of the most dominant guys in the league, and that's Sandy Alcantara. And that's what the Yankees need. They need another starter. I don't see them returning Frankie Montas. I don't see them returning Severino. So they're going to have to go get some help in a lot of these guys. I love Rizzo, but unfortunately, if you have to low man on totem pole, and especially contract wise, he's got 1 year left. Go to a team, in that aspect. So off season predictions, and just teams need to do better and stop being so complacent with being at the bottom of the league.
Quick question. Who do you have Rizzo going to Chicago for?
Oh, Corey Seager. Did I say Corey Seager?
Yeah.
Oh, I meant Chris, not Bellinger. Yeah, Bellinger. Bellinger. That's it.
Oh, I would 100% take that trade.
So I see that happening because I
Yeah.
see Bellinger re-signing with the Cubs, and halfway through the year next year, the Yankees making a move to get rid of Rizzo. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I could see those moves. I have been, as you know, very vocal about how I think Otani's going to be a Dodger. I just have a feeling. I know they don't need him, but we've seen teams get guys that they don't necessarily need a bunch of times, just because they can.
Yeah.
The one I'm really on board with. I love Rizzo, but I understand, especially if it's by mid-season, how he would be a guy to get moved. But one I'm really on board with that I really could see happening there is Trout. I think Trout to the Phillies makes too much sense for him, for the Angels, and for the Phillies.
Yeah.
So I could definitely, and man, if you told us 10 years ago that a team was going to have Mike Trout and Bryce Harper as their outfielders, it'd be like, oh, okay, so they just win the World Series automatically, right?
Yeah,
Um,
right.
Now, I would love, as much as I would love the Yankees to win, I would love Mike Trout to win one because, as we said, he's been wasted away so much by the Angels that I feel like he kind of deserves one at this point.
Puts him over the top at the end of the day.
100%. Yeah, even a on his way on the decline, health wise at least, Trout is still like he doesn't have to be the guy there. He can just be a guy that does well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could definitely see that happening. And yeah, make some moves. Look what the Pirates and Reds did. They banked on their young guys. They made the moves that they needed to make to bring in guys that could fit into what they were looking to do. The Pirates, for a decent part of the year, led the Central. The Reds are still in the playoff hunt.
Yeah,
It works.
So I mean,
Just do it.
it works. It works. Just do it and get yourself back into contention.
Yep.
But we'll be back in contention here next Sunday as we have our first ever rotation playoff edition, because the playoffs will be set by then, most likely. So, Mike, great show.
Yes.
Looking forward to next week. Great season. Had a lot of ups and downs. Our Yankees are not going to be playing in October this year. They will be down here in Miami golfing with me.
Yep.
So I'll let you know how Aaron judges. And everyone, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll be back here next week with the rotation with Mike and Jon in our playoff edition. So we'll see you guys here next week. Let us know in the comments your thoughts. And of course, this is brought to you by Fans Idea. Fans Idea has customized jerseys, as Mike shows behind us right there. You can customize them with anything you want. Your logo, your favorite number, your team name, your business logo on the patch. Get it. And then get yourself 10% off with Cinco Squad 10. And then, of course, we have another partnership with Shank It Golf. If you're a golfer, and like the Yankees will be doing in a few months, go ahead and go to shankitgolf.com and get yourself 15% off with Cinco Squad. That's Cinco Squad. No 15 at the end, just Cinco Squad. And they have really awesome hats. I know I have one that's coming. It has a tiger on it. I'll be repping that here next week. And I also have a pretty cool polo I'll put on for you guys. But shankitgolf.com, Cinco Squad discount code. Get yourself 50% off. Mike, we'll see you guys here next week. Have a great rest of your evening.